Good evening, and thank you. Thank you for being here with us. This is such a beautiful and very nice get-together. We should have that more often. I think, I would like to see all my friends and just to talk about what we are doing, what we have done, and so on. My name is Luis Imperiale, and I'm the president of the UMKCRA. What? Okay, Syed, it's your turn. Thank you very much. Syed is going to have the greatest task here to introduce Dr. Mei-Ling Chu.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming here tonight. I see many people here who I'm familiar with, and welcome to the two new retirees. It's always a pleasure to see everybody at this gathering. As our president mentioned, a place of quiet and serenity. But let me go to our speaker here. She is Chu Mei-Ling. She has been a professor at in the School of Science and Engineering for some time now, and she is highly accomplished. Her specialty is artificial intelligence, AI, that we hear all the time. Many of us are confused. We don't know where it will lead us to, but she has been involved with that kind of thing, and large data mining and artificial intelligence and all kind of things that we hear but don't understand actually what it is. So she's going to tell us about all of that. In fact, the title of her presentation is Artificial Intelligence, Challenge, what it is, the challenges. You'll see the slide in a moment. But she is highly accomplished, as I said. She has been a recipient of many prestigious awards from the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, which is perhaps the most prestigious group of people in information technology and computer science and related fields. She holds many offices there. She is a member of the American Advancement of AAAS and IEE and many other organizations. So let's welcome her. As you see, the topic of her talk is artificial intelligence, current status, future directions, and challenges. So let's hear it. Welcome.
Okay, so the title, you have seen that, but because I think I don't want to go into too kind of technical details, so I'm going to now, talk about the history and then what people have been using it and in the different perspective, as well as what kind of future direction we are expecting. Also, the challenges of that. Alright, so that's what I mentioned. I will give some introduction and then what the current state of art in this AI era, and then the future direction as well as the challenges. Okay, so for AI, this is we call the father of AI. Right? So before the AI era, we all need to write thousands of kind of if then else type of rules in order to implement something. This John McCarthy, he was the first one to kind of define this term called AI. So he proposed the idea of, can we make AI to learn, or can we make AI to be more intelligent? So that's why this is, we call him the father of AI for that. He developed this idea of the AI kind of terminology of this field in 1956. We'll look at the, some time later on. In one of the conferences that he and some organizer, they started to put together to try to enable machine to learn or to to understand, how kind of simulate how human behavior on that. He developed this so-called Lisp programming language. This is very old, maybe one of the first or second oldest kind of language that people use that set up the foundation of the current programming languages on that. He also developed some of these so-called alpha beta search algorithms and this time sharing computing. Again, just to starting with this computational aspect of how the programming can be done for them. So to look at the kind of timeline with the AI milestones. Okay, so AI, this concept has been for a long time, maybe century, kind of old. Okay, so start from 1900, this vacuum kind of tube started with this computational aspect of the kind of application for that. And then we have this tuning test, that's also, the kind of pioneer of the computer science that proposing this concept of computational, kind of area for it. And then move on to the 1956, as I just mentioned earlier, this John McCarthy kind of developed this term called AI, the artificial intelligence for that. This artificial intelligence, together with some of the kind of neural network, the first generation or very early generation of this neural network, that's what we call this the perceptron kind of concept for that. So these together bring up this AI concept. However, because of this kind of inflated expectation, AI died. That's what between around 1973, it was not good at all for that. From 1980, because of this artificial neural network, started to blooming again. So this AI concept was brought up again. So it became alive again for that. So there are some technology algorithm being developed in order to, again, create those algorithms for that. So one famous one is this Hopfield artificial neural network, and then some of this backpropagation, all these are algorithms that are they are the foundation of how neural network machine learnings are for it. Unfortunately, people have too high expectation, so AI died again. Okay, so AI died again, that's what we call the second winter of AI for it. Until in 1997, IBM has developed this so-called Deep Blue. It kind of defeated the chess champion, the world champion, using computer code, the computer program that actually defeated the best in the whole world in chess. That make a big story again for that. After that, then people started to also develop all these, the deep learning, machine learning, all these from thereby. And then if you look at the most famous one, is this so-called 2022, is the ChatGPT. Nowadays, I think everybody is using ChatGPT, even students for that. So this ChatGPT kind of make the so-called natural language processing become more kind of a reality that we can program or we can train a computer to think like a human, to understand the kind of natural language of that. So it's a big jump for AI again. Nowadays, again, the ChatGPT are also different companies, they are developing their own, trying to compete with each other with this, the large language models for that. Okay, so that's what the current, you can see many like OpenAI, and then there are again more and more development in order to make use of this AI concept for that. People argue that will that be another winter of AI? Nobody knows. Okay, but hopefully it's not, because we still have some, research and also some application that we can utilize AI technology for it. Okay, so that's just a kind of brief introduction about the history. So these are some key landmarks in AI. I know it's small, but let me bring up some examples. So in starting again, that's why it's a century-long type of area. So in 1946, that's the first mathematical kind of model that people developed, to model the neuron for that. And then you can see as the time goes, we have 1956. That's the AI term, as I mentioned earlier. And then you have 1966 with the first general purpose mobile robot that has a reasoning capability for it. Of course, at that time it's not perfect, but that's a kind of first attempt to bring in this reasoning capability for that. And then 1986, this backpropagation that kind of built up this neural network concept of neural network areas that people started to develop all these deep learning, machine learning kind of methods for it. And the 1996, that's what I mentioned earlier, the Deep Blue, from IBM with the chess kind of competition. The 2016 is the DeepMind, that's from IBM, that has this AlphaGo that again, also beat the professional Go player. Okay, so all these are demonstrating that we are able to kind of program and let machine kind of compete with human being. Earlier, we all thought that that's not possible, but it's happening now. And Google, they developed this transformer network that kind of paved the way of this so-called large language model kind of development for that. Google, actually this OpenAI, the one who developed this ChatGPT,
Introduced the transformer.
he was at Google at that time, and he proposed to Google that can we develop this large language model or this ChatGPT concept. But Google, I think at that time they focused more on the search engine. They did not want to have a competition or within themselves. So Google rejected his idea. And he moved on to OpenAI, blooming for that. So Google was, I don't know whether they would regret or, but they lost the niche at that time because they did not want to risk their current search engine kind of development for that. But this transformer network was introduced, and that also will become the later this ChatGPT kind of development. That's what the OpenAI, with the ChatGPT, the different type of Gen AI kind of development. Okay, so here look at the surprising with the Nobel Prize. Imagine the physics Nobel Prize winners are actually in machine learning and AI, right? So people kind of surprised to see, oh, now computational, they don't have this computational as kind of award in Nobel Prize, but they kind of recognize this Jeff Hinton and the John Hopfield. They also like a grandfather of some of the new technologies. So they recognize them, then they got the Nobel Prize for physics. The same thing for chemistries. They are also more in the computational kind of experts on that. Okay, so instead of letting the physics or chemist to get the Nobel Prize, now the computational kind of researchers are being promoted for that. So these are, again, some indication of how the technology can help. All right, so if we look at the current state of the AI kind of research, we are looking at different type of architectures and different type of, we call data modalities. So here I listed some of them. Those are just commonly used, the kind of, we call data modality for that. Okay, so from NLP, that's the natural language processing, pretty much is to deal with the text data for that. The images will be pictures, all the pictures we collect or we took for it. Then there are also some, videos, audios, or geometry, or 3D, three-dimensional kind of modeling, or even graph data. So these are the currently, in order to develop an kind of AI tool, relying on only one of the modalities, now it's not enough. So you need to kind of integrate that's what we call multi-modalities, kind of data together, because they can kind of utilize each one of their characteristics and to provide a better kind of predictive model or better tool for us. So if you look at the natural language, that is the ChatGPT, I think we all know, right? So because of the development of this, the transformer, the intention, we call the transformer kind of technology or architectures, that's what we are able to utilize large amount of data to train the model and to provide this ChatGPT kind of tool for us for that. If you look at the video or vision kind of data, then you can see one of the famous one is this Sora, also by OpenAI. This one was created by just prompt with text. Okay, so they put a prompt saying that I want to find a lady who wears some kind of dress or wears some kind of clothes and has a handbag and walking on, New York City, something like that. Okay. But imagine just by that prompt, they are able to create a video of that. But these are all by AI, for that. So that's why it becomes more powerful. But imagine that you cannot just use simple one data type to do it. You have to integrate multiple of them together for that. But this is an example for using this vision or video data. The audio data, there are many tools available now. So some of them go from audio to text. So that is how they can do this speech recognition for that. From text to audio is how we call a speech synthesizer, because they need to know what that means and then be able to kind of translate that into audio or some kind of sequence of that. Okay, so all these are becoming more and more to understand how human or what human try to present, and then we'll be able to utilize the AI tool for that. Geometry 3D, this is the same thing that you can give a text prompt saying that I want a SpongeBob style shoes, that's all. And then the AI tool will be able to create something like the right hand side here, as a 3D kind of object to you. Okay. Whether it's good or bad, but again, that's very amazing. With just a prompt with the text, they are able to create a 3D object based on that. So those are all the technology behind them to support the AI research to support this type of tool. The graph data is how we can utilize the user kind of user interaction to build some kind of user graph. So many applications that we have seen is like, when you order something in Amazon, immediately they will give you some prompts saying, oh, people purchase these, always purchase these, right? So how do they get the information with these? They kind of link with this purchasing behavior or the item co-purchase together more frequently. They are able to build some kind of graph. And that's all utilize the graph data for that purpose. So they can give you some recommendation or identify who is your friend or who is whose friend. All these interactions will be presented or will be modeled for that. So that's what the graph data is. Okay. Individually, you can see that we are able to develop tool, using some data modality and then to present them in a different way. But our idea is that, again, the current trend is that we need to utilize multi-modality kind of data that will provide more kind of realistic kind of tool for us. So we look at the industry perspective here. I'm just showing some examples. one of the example is this more in the medical kind of application or pharmacy application. So the right hand side is an example from MIT. They, I think back in May 2025, they published a paper saying that using generative AI, the scientists can design novel antibiotic to combat, two drug-resistant kind of bacteria. Okay, so imagine that these findings without AI is not possible. Okay, and that's why this is just an example for pharmacy particularly. There are also many others, like this Alpha Genomics, that the DeepMind, as I mentioned earlier, that IBM developed this. They are able to use the AI model to predict how the single nucleotide DNA change can affect the gene regulation. Okay. So all these are kind of, not only they are able to do the prediction more accurately, they also can reduce a lot of time and space kind of dimension needs in order to get the results. Previously, it might take 10 to 15 years, to run through all different combinations. Nowadays, they can get the result maybe in 10, 15 minutes or 2 hours. Okay, so you can imagine that the kind of time complexity, the reduction, and also the computation kind of the space requirement are much more efficient right now for us. Okay, so these are again some example. The new drug discovery, this again, just to show that they are also, like I mentioned earlier, the traditionally take 10 to 15 years, and then maybe spend $2+ billion in order to find the new kind of drug discovery. Now it can be accelerated, because of AI tool for that. Okay, so all these are kind of publications show the AI drug pipelines that people have developed. Again, those are all the the kind of advancement of AI tools that provide to industry for that. This is again another example. The Northwestern Medicine, they indicate that, again, they publish this showing that automatically the AI tool will be able to draft about 95% the complete kind of, radiograph or CT reports. So it saves a lot of effort for the radiologist, to manually screen the kind of patient data or the report for that. Okay, and it's not just also, with this 95%, it also kind of improve the accuracy. Nowadays, the radiologists, they don't need to look at each one manually. Now you can use the AI tool to screen it and then identify those with some problems or those with maybe some symptoms. Then the radiologist can just look at those. So you can save also a lot of human effort for it. So those are just some indication of how AI help in different aspects of our lives for that. Okay, so this is for software engineering. Okay. So now maybe you have heard that now people graduated or students graduated from computer science, they have difficulty finding jobs. But 2-3 years ago, that's the most promising kind of area you should go. But nowadays, computer science is becoming, like we said, the winter period for that. The problem is that now the AI, they can help in all this coding. Okay, so the student, if they are not well trained, then the AI tool might do the coding better than you. Okay, so and many of them also are relying on this AI tool a lot to help them in their assignment, in their homework coding. Eventually, they lost their own kind of understanding about that. So even though they can do the coding, using the ChatGPT or whatever tool to help, they are not able to understand what it does. And then that become a problem when they go for an interview for it. We have some students actually went through this type of process or went through this type of kind of difficulty for that. And here just one of the example is this Cursor AI. So imagine the AI will be able to help you in coding. Not just to help you in coding, they can understand your entire code base, and then they can give you suggestions. They can even correct your errors. All these are done by AI. Okay, so nowadays people can utilize this AI to, do the coding better than human being, and that's why a lot of companies nowadays they don't hire fresh students, fresh graduate, because AI can do a better job than them. Okay, so my suggestion to my students are, you need to make yourself on top of this AI era. You need to design, or you need to be better in the sense that you are not just using the tool, you have to be designing them, or you have to be able to contribute to the development of it. Okay, not just using it. If you are just using it, you will be kicked out, for that. So those are, again, some other example, even for software engineer with coding. Maybe 2-3 years ago, people said, no way computer can do coding for you. Okay, it's happening now. Okay, so here also another example with the healthcare and life science. This AlphaFold tools is developed, they can predict the 3-dimensional kind of structure of the protein for that. So right inside is a screenshot of how the tool is done. So you can you can kind of input a 3-dimensional kind of structure of the protein, and then the right hand side is the heat map of how each component is. So that gives us the capability of solving, they say, 50 years kind of challenge in biology, and also accelerate this drug discovery for that. So all these are the kind of product of AI. And this is for entertainment and creative kind of industry. So that's a very famous one, that this picture actually won the 2023 Oscar Best Picture. So the name is called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once by Runaway AI. So this is totally created by AI. Right? So many of actually we went to conferences, many of the company in California, they are trying to replace actors with the AI, kind of the AI tools for that. But on the front end, they don't tell the actor because they are protest with the AI development for that. But in reality is that they actually can develop a lot of these. They can even make the actor become younger, and then talk like an avatar. All these are done. So this just to show the impact to the entertainment industry. And this is the we call the example of the Tesla Optimus Humanoid, or the Waymo, kind of autonomous kind of taxi. And people have used that in California. I think Phoenix and California have started that. And even in Austin, I think they also have this selfless, driverless kind of taxi for it. So all these have shown that, again, 5-10 years ago, people say, no way, we cannot. We don't trust that. But it's reality now. Okay, so all these are relying on the AI technology to be able to sense. They have many sensors. They take different sources of data. They are able to detect obstacles. They are able to detect the road situation. All these in order to make this product for them. All right, so that's another one with the finance and business. So this Aladdin by BlackRock. Imagine nowadays you can use the ChatGPT, they call Bloomberg ChatGPT, to give the financial kind of decision making, or to provide some kind of risk management. All these are already tools available for people to utilize AI. So these are just some example of the top players. Depending on the kind of model perspective, or the service provider perspective, or infrastructure perspective, I think these are all common herd kind of companies, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, AWS, Amazon, and NVIDIA, all these, right? So these are, some of them are providing the model kind of development. Some of them are providing this cloud kind of space or cloud services for that. And some of them are providing the GPUs, so that we are able to, train the model. We are able to develop some algorithm, make it, again, trainable for that. So all these are just some example. Okay. So here just talk a little bit on the kind of different terms or different areas that people have been talking about. So sometimes we don't know what do we mean by AI, what do we mean by machine learning, what do we mean by deep learning. But in general, you can see that AI is the whole circle. And the machine learning is a subset or a part of this AI. And then deep learning is a sub kind of component or support part of the so-called machine learning for that. Okay, so this AI, machine learning, and deep learning, they are just providing the foundation of all the algorithms, all the technology that we need in order to learn from data. And that is how the AI is based upon. They need to learn, they need to be trained in order to know what human is thinking, and also again to be able to make some kind of decision for people. So this is just some deep learning. So deep learning is based on the neural networks, and then many applications are for this image recognition, speech recognition, or natural language processing. Those are some of the kind of area I mentioned earlier. And nowadays is trying to kind of integrate all these together to provide more and more functionality for applications. So these are just different type of applications that you can see. Those are all something I have mentioned, right? You have the social network analysis to look at the interaction among peoples, natural language processing, autonomous driving. So all these are all rely on the deep learning on the back end to be able to kind of learn with different layers. But the whole idea is to utilize the data we have and then trying to make machine more intelligent for them. Okay, so we also need to have the big data modeling in order to learn the relationship between or among large amount of data and also the output that we are expecting to get for that. So here just some different type of models. So some of them are supervised, some of them are called semi-supervised and unsupervised, and some of them are called reinforcement learning. Okay, just different kind of fancy topics that people have been using. Okay, so that's for supervision, meaning that the data you should have labeled. Right, so the example will be you are given a bunch of images, you want to learn, what kind of picture. If I give it to you, you can let me know whether there is a cat or there is a dog inside, right? So you need to use this image kind of or big data kind of modeling to learn the characteristic of each type of animal, for example. And then if you have a new picture to me, the model will be able to tell you how likely that you have a cat inside, how likely you have a dog inside. Okay, so all these are part of that's what we call the supervised learning for that. And then the trend for supervised learning is to utilize this kind of deep learning, and also they are more and more trying to handle the multi-modality data. So many of them utilize this video data, trying to be able to not just look at the static kind of information, you also look at their temporal kind of information. That's why the video is different from the typical images. And that's in different type of, this is without supervision, that means we call unsupervised learning. So those are how we can utilize the clustering algorithm or distribution based to try to cluster the data you have into different kind of categories or groups, and then they are sharing certain common characteristics. Okay, so imagine this is something we utilize machine to learn from it. Okay, so because you don't have any label among them. Okay, that's a trend. And then we can also use that for decision making, and this is more related to, we call the reinforcement learning. It's more in AI kind of intelligence, so that we are using them to learn from your past performance, and then you can give a rewards or give a penalty if they answer correctly or if they predict it wrongfully. Then you will be able to retrain your model kind of iteratively and trying to learn the pattern, better for that.
So doesn't it suggest that it's capable of learning?
What?
It sounds like you're saying it's capable of learning.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's why all these agents will be learning from the whatever environment provided, the information
It's
provided.
very Skinnerian, I guess. Skinner type work, reward
Yes.
and so forth too.
No, the reinforcement, this is one
Reinforcement.
type of reinforcement learning, is that you let the agent to do the first guess. Okay, but the agent might guess correctly or might guess wrong. Okay, so what do we do to revise the model is to give either rewards to the right one and then to give a penalty to the wrong one. Okay, so then it iteratively runs through that, taking whatever new information or whatever kind of new pattern you can find, and then you can revise your model for that. So that's why they have this reinforcement learning kind of algorithm for it. Okay, but they are all learning, try to learn intelligence from the data. Okay. So maybe let me move on to the future directions. Okay, so this future direction just, and some examples. Okay, so you can see from the data that you can have very simple kind of narrow kind of purpose of that. So you might just do the reasoning, planning, all these. However, in order to make it a world model, then you will need to simulate how the real world is. And then you also need to kind of, like we mentioned earlier, that you might need to consider not just one type of data modality, you might need to create a 3D space for that, right? So all these are relying on the kind of AI research to develop more and more realistic kind of simulation or more realistic objects that we can present to different type of applications for that.
How much processing does a world model like that take? I mean, that's a
It
lot
will
of
take,
information.
like a ChatGPT, nowadays, only OpenAI can train that. We don't have that kind of capability. First thing is we don't have the data. The second thing is that you don't have that kind of machine for that. They have thousands of GPUs in order to train the model. For university, unfortunately, we don't have that kind of facility for that. So in our research, we can only we call the fine tune our model based on some existing model, because we can gather some of the data, some of the documents, for example, related to the domain you are focusing on, and then use that to retrain, to fine tune your model so that it can focus more on the topic that you are interested in for that.
So we're kind of far away from being able to do a world model, yes?
Yeah, but the company, they build that, so we are utilizing that. We can build on top of them for our spatial needs.
Okay.
I read that at the moment 20% of all the energy in the world is used to
For
run
the model,
AIs.
yes. That's what the challenge I will talk about later on.
Wow.
Okay, but you can see those are just some example that in the future that we are trying to develop more and more. But in reality is that there are still some, something we need to focus on in order to be able to train the model for that. But these are some real world kind of applications that people have, or some tools that people are developing in order to provide different purposes or different applications for that. Okay, so this is an example from Tesla. They have this hemorrhoid kind of developed that they are able to simulate how human behave, how human act or do some task for that. Okay, so you have this autonomous agent and then robotic integration. So all these needs to be integrated together in order to provide, build such kind of, hemorrhoid for that. We actually went in the conference. One of the company put up a human's head in front of in the desk and put a demo for that. So that lady actually can talk multiple languages. Okay, so the only thing you need to say is using word to describe to the robot or to the hemorrhoid. Okay, so for example, the researcher say, okay, I think the name is Alisa or something. Okay, what do you see? Do you know where you are? And then that robot look at the environment, actually turn and then eyeball kind of look around, and they say, I see a lot of researchers, a lot of people sitting in different tables, and then they seem to be talking to each other. I guess it's a conference. And then the researchers say, using a different language, can you use Chinese to talk about the environment? And then the head actually talk in Chinese, describing the same thing for that. So it's amazing that you can utilize all this audio, image processing, audio kind of recognition, kind of speech recognition, and then convert the text or convert your audio from some kind of text, and then from the text they convert to audio again, so that they are able to have a conversation with you. So that's what all these are trying to combine, all this AI, natural language processing, computer vision, animation, so that you can have a kind of more real life type of interaction with the hemorrhoid in this case.
Quick question, does
Yes.
the robot have to be connected to the internet to obtain
Yes.
the
Yes.
information?
Yes, you need to have at least a Wi-Fi connection. That's what I was told for that. But this, you can see they can do a lot of tasks that, if you program them, and then they actually also can learn from it, for providing more functionality for you. Yeah. So-
If I may, what are some of the drawbacks of AI?
Okay, that's my next topic. Okay, so for our opinion, at least as a researcher in this area, is that the future direction for this AI research is trying to utilize multiple modality of data for that. Okay, by using just one, that's not enough to make use of this AI. So we are going to kind of look into all different type of data modality in order to develop more useful type of model or AI kind of tool for them. Okay, those are the challenges. That's some of the questions. Right. One of the main challenges is the technology bottleneck, because we are still relying on some of the current architectures for that. They perform well in some applications or in some tools, but however, they kind of reach a certain limit now. For example, if you have played around with ChatGPT 5, anyone played with ChatGPT 5 before? Oh. Okay, the ChatGPT, the free one is 3.5. And then you need to put the subscription for 4.0, I believe.
Yep.
And now it's a 5. They actually make a big announcement, say, we developed ChatGPT 5. ChatGPT 4.0, it's good with this prompt engineering, all this, but it kind of missing the reasoning capability for that. So people have high hope that ChatGPT 5 might give us some reasoning capability, and not no. People feel that it's kind of worse than 4.0.
Yeah.
For that. That's why we kind of experience that. Okay, so that's what because of the underlying foundation with this transformer type of AI architecture, so it has some limitation now. And so of course there are some improvement that people are doing. And the other problem is that the energy, that's what I mentioned, right? The energy consumption for AI model is huge. Okay, so how do we can reduce that kind of energy again for building or developing the model for that? Also, the other problem is the data sets. Like I mentioned, that even for OpenAI, nobody knows what data they are access to. They have access to, they use to build the model, the ChatGPT model for that. Another case is people even suspected that they use some data sources that might be violating the copyright, for that. Okay, but they don't release that, so nobody knows for it. But for university, we don't really have that kind of luxury to access those data. And that's why I mentioned that we can only use the existing open source kind of AI tools and build on top of that using whatever data that we have access to, and then fine tune the model for it. Okay, so that's what the university can do, unfortunately. Okay, so this is one of the major challenges, and of course there are some, approach to try to mitigate the problem. The other one is the ethics and safety and policy. Okay, so there are some concern about the biases, the fairness, and then there are also some risk management framework that people try to use to kind of provide some kind of guidance of how the AI tool can be used. And there are also some deployment checklists, make sure that people are not just randomly use them. They know what kind of policy, what kind of, at least some concern that they need to pay attention to. And then for medical domain, that's especially serious because we need to make sure that the bias data or the functionality kind of risk, especially for people's health. And then a lot of these algorithms, they are called black box kind of decision making. So sometimes when we use that, we don't really know how to interpret that. We don't really know how it gets the results. So that becomes a problem. If you want to use that for patients or for some healthcare kind of applications, it becomes a challenge for that. So all these are just some list of the challenges. I think that's it. I'm sorry taking too long.
Wow.
Any questions?
Where do you see the future of AI?
The future of AI is, again, we need some kind of guidance. We also need some kind of policy to ensure that people do not abuse them. However, I think AI is developing. It's without doubt that people are benefiting from it. Okay, and then it will keep going on that. Whether there will be a winter after that, because again, people are expecting more and more from AIs. Whether we are able to overcome those challenges, that's another, that's out of researchers' control for that. But I think people are still trying to develop something that I mentioned, utilize this multimodality of data and try to provide more intelligent kind of tools or application for that.
Yeah, I've been playing around with GPT 3 and 4 and also Copilot.
Yes.
From Microsoft quite a bit the last couple of months. My wife is my grandchild, and she's worried about me getting addicted.
And you are, right?
But I am, because I keep asking these philosophical questions like consciousness.
Yeah.
With the robot, and it's interesting conversations you get into, but it does pick up on mistakes though.
Yes.
If you tell it, it remembers you. It remembers the conversation you were having and so forth. And so it's very, very powerful. But philosophically, what I wanted to interject here is I don't know if it was Plato or Socrates said, but knowledge comes from asking the right questions. And what this tool does is gets you to ask what are the right questions to get the knowledge. That's what hypothesis-based research is all about. So I think it's very important.
That's why, earlier, maybe a few years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, this so-called prompt engineering is a hard kind of job.
Yeah.
Because you need to know how to set up how to ask questions for that.
And you may have to ask multiple questions.
Yes,
And
and
you
then-
realize, oh, this is what I've been looking for. You didn't know it.
Yes, and then, but the problem is the AI actually is smart enough. It learns what you want to hear.
Yes.
So it will tells you what you want to hear.
Oh, you can bias it. It's biased.
Yes, then, but
It's like humans.
that's why, the current research is trying to develop this reasoning capability that it doesn't take the answer directly, so it will be able to kind of look into different angle and then provide maybe a better answer to you. That nobody has the solution yet, but people are still trying to improve that.
You may develop a Trump AI, a reasoning Trump.
Does that exist?
I got a question
No.
for you.
Okay.
So among those the AI tools, like the Google AI, the ChatGPT, Copilot, and some other things, which one you use the more?
We use Metas. We use Metas because Metas they provide it's an open source, so we are able to, like I said, build on top of that to fine tune to our needs for that. So we would, for example, some reason we need to collect data for certain application. Then we can collect only those data, but use the Metas kind of tool to be able. It's Llama. I think Llama, they have different version. Llama. We use that and then build on top of that to train the model based on the foundation model that they have. Again, researcher in the university, we cannot train our own foundation model because there is no way we can do it. But we are able, the only thing people can do now is to build on top of that, fine tune to your particular needs. But you also need to be careful that you don't want to set up some kind of biases or too fine tune in the sense that they actually lost their general knowledge. So all these are still research kind of issues for it.
What is the name of that particular software?
Llama.
Llama, N-A-M-A?
No, L-A-M-A or something.
Facebook.
Llama.
The
Yeah, check Meta. Meta AI tool.
Meta. META.
Yes.
That's the
Okay.
Facebook.
If we have a
Yeah, right.
democratization of the AI, which means AI for everyone in the future, I'm afraid that many people will need to have more intelligence in order to face just the use of AI. So can we have any chance that in the future AI can give us more intelligence?
I think AI is becoming more and more intelligent, as far exceeding our expectation now. Okay, but how to utilize them wisely, that's the challenge, that part of the challenge I just mentioned. Okay, so all these are still kind of in the development stage of that. But the AI tools, the AI functionality have been crazy for that.
My question is very, very serious in the fact that we here and our generations, they have some kind of humanist support. We learned about many things with our mind. Now, what about the new generation? They are going to have, first of all, they had the computers, which means this kind of generation revolution. Now we're going to have the AI and AGI. How are they going to how are they going to talk, or how they are going to be in front of this kind of
That's the
mechanic?
issue. Yeah, that's the issue now for the young generation. They have difficulty to kind of, I think they rely too much on some of these tools. They
They don't
become,
have the ability to think critically.
yeah,
Then
and
it
no,
could
they,
be
they
just
become, they rely too much on that. They do not spend the time to think by themselves. I think that's a problem now. And the most we can say is we can educate our kids, say, okay, do not rely on that too much. You have to still practice. You still have to learn by yourself on that. Okay, but that's how the technology kind of evolve on that.
I was going to ask you about the literary allusions to the story of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
It was so by Mary Shelley that was like what, 12th century or 13th century that she wrote that book. Shelley.
Sorry, 1820s, 1840s.
That was another one. I think this is the one who wrote, Frankenstein.
Yes,
Initially.
yes,
Okay.
early 1800s.
Okay, right. So this is so
2
similar
centuries.
to that.
Yes.
And I was wondering, is there any recognition or sort of awareness of what authors have done in the literary world?
Yes, that's why the challenges, that's why I listed those challenges with this ethic, with all these.
Right.
Yes,
ethics,
but we can do our best to make sure that happens, but it still need time to get to it for that. There are still a lot of problems. There are still some, even ChatGPT, even the AI tool, they actually provide information to you. They are wrong. Okay, so human cannot just use it directly. You still need to have some additional safeguard to check whether the information is accurate or not.
Right, and the ethics part of it, how is there any way that you can do the input of the ethics part?
That's the development that we can plug in with some additional source of data that we can educate or let the AI tool to learn from it. And we also hope that later on they can have more reasoning capability so that they are not just randomly give you some information. They will know what's right and what's wrong, at least to a certain degree for that.
Are there opposition to this idea of artificial man as such from general public that it's not the right thing to do?
I think people in many areas, like in the doctors, the lawyers, I think they are against it. They are against it because I think they will eventually threaten their career for that. Okay, but in reality, that's in some aspect the AI or the robots, they are doing better. In some aspect of it.
Even professors.
Can I ask a basic question regarding whether it will make AI will make basic science obsolete?
No.
I mean, just think about it.
I don't think so
It's
because
an accelerator.
Yeah, basic science, like you start from high school and learn science like it's mid-age. And since now you can pass through all those and go to AI, because what we're trying to do here is make discoveries. If we can make discoveries without learning all these things about chemistry, basic biology, or neuroscience, and you jump to making discoveries, why not?
no, but we can still utilize this AI tool to teach kids with this fundamental knowledge on that. It's now we are skipping that. Even though AI has the capability of some more advanced kind of acceleration, but we can still train them to do the fundamental one. So it's not saying that they will not provide you the fundamental knowledge. They can still train you. We can still have a robot teaching fundamental science or fundamental chemistry to the kids. Right? So those will not be affected. It's just how the kids are taking it. That's a problem. Because they are escaping from learning because they can rely on all these online tools for that. Yes, question?
Well, not so much a question, just an observation. I went to an online yesterday IEEE symposium, which was run by 4 faculty off of the Committee on the Ethical Use of AI in engineering. And they actually focused, one of the guys was a forensic engineer, a professional expert that reviews patents. And he said he has to do it. So they said, you must disclose that you're using these tools.
Yes.
And basically your job when using this is to avoid hallucinations out of the AI, and when it lies,
Yes.
because it lies.
Yes, it does. It does provide a lot of benefits, but it also provides you wrong information. That's why I mentioned you cannot just use it. Now there are a lot of journals, they ask you to check mark whether your articles is written by AI.
Yeah.
And even if you are a kind of paper reviewers, they also do not accept you that if your paper reviews are generated by AI. Now they have tools to detect whether they are AI generated
Ah.
for that.
Where does it stand for consciousness?
Those-
I mean, are there reputable scientists that think it's reached consciousness as yet? Or is
If-
that something in the future?
Okay, if we have enough kind of data or documents that we can use to train, then it's doable. But the problem is, are we able to access those, to teach those consciousness in, or do we have enough kind of documentation that we are able to use that for, to learn?
It's making decisions, it's learning. It's able to make errors with the line.
But a pigeon that learns how to find its food is conscious.
So
An ant finding his food is conscious because he's able to do that. Bacteria finding their way in the human body to get the advantage because they need the iron to grow is not conscious. What do you mean by conscious?
yeah, exactly. So at a certain level right now it is conscious, but maybe not at a more philosophical level.
I think also depends on different perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly, that's what you're saying.
Is creativity, is that a requirement?
It's kind of philosophical concern.
It's putting together things.
Looking at the history of human beings, how they evolved from primitive human beings, limited brain size, limited ability to think and cognitive ability. Now we are looking at modern human being. Our brain has grown bigger in dimension, we've got more capability to think and all that. But if we start depending too much on AI, then I think our memory of thinking ability will be compromised. A quick example. How many of us who were 10 years ago, not too long, 20 years ago, remember the phone number of all our close ones in our mind? Now you just punch the number and you get it. How many, do you remember the number of your children?
Yes.
10 digits? Not everybody does that.
I still dial.
No, because now we have.
So I don't forget.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, how many of us look up the map and for the directions? No, nobody. You go to GPS, okay. Although you're familiar, you've driven on the street, but still you will start to use GPS. So what is happening is that our ability to retain information in our mind is getting depleted.
That's
And
true.
that is a concern.
Yes,
really.
that's true.
What will happen to the younger generation? They make it very smart in using AI and all that.
Yeah, but
But
unfortunately,
by
I don't
way,
have solution
Sayed,
for that.
you said the human brain is getting smaller.
No, I said larger.
No, Cro-Magnon had a much bigger brain than human Homo species.
Yeah, but he doesn't use it.
Size-wise.
Well, how do you know?
Oh,
Well,
come on,
you know that.
come on, come on.
That's why
um,
this AI is still controversial in some sense. Some people heavily kind of say it's good, but some people opposed to that because they are either conflict of interest or there are some concern for that. So
Yep.
there's no answer to that. I'm sorry.
I have a question now, another one. Does AI be able to have emotions, poetry, feelings, sentiments, romanticism, and can it, I can say it because I know it can it transfer, communicate this kind of emotional values?
Okay, the answer in my mind is yes, because if you have enough data, you have enough kind of information that capture the emotion or capture whatever, then we can, if we have enough data for that, we can train the AI to do it.
But
And then they can, like the example I mentioned, they can have conversation with you. They can understand the environment. They can know what's going on. They can respond to you with your question.
They
So
make
those are
better
two-
poems
those
than
are-
I do.
Yeah.
I saw that the first the first robot as a citizenship or citizen,
Yes. Yeah.
it's Sophia.
Yes.
Sophia by Western civilization culture, it is a feminine name, and it is also a Greek name which means knowledge, which means everything. So, is that the first citizen will be a woman?
Of course.
Hey, they always win.
Interesting thing is that she showed in the slide, but that Sophia has been given the status of official citizenship by Saudi Arabia, right?
Yes. Sorry.
Here you are.
Yes.
It has been recognized.
Yes.
That is a very common name in Saudi Arabia anyway. Yeah, Sophia is very common.
Just for those who are interested in this, but are maybe not as studious as I am, well, are far less studious than you need to be to understand all of this. Stacey Abrams has written a book called Coded Justice that takes this to a different level and answers your question on whether they can think and do that. It's very entertaining, and I recommend all of her books, but Coded Justice is
the name, okay?
excellent.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Does AI predict what the unemployment rate's gonna be in 20 years because of jobs lost by AI?
Okay. All this prediction requires some past history of data. So if the past history actually capture this trend, then it does. It can predict that. But unfortunately, a lot of these also has some human factor into that. So that AI might not be easy. It might not be easy for AI to learn from it, because human factor is not, as we can put together as a document for AI. So those are something, they can learn to a certain level, but it might not be accurate enough.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Please, don't go away, don't go away. I would like to ask you if you can come, all of you here. We got a beautiful, beautiful picture of every one of you. So it's going to be something to remember, not tomorrow, but in 30 years. Where are we going to be in 30 years?
The last
So please,
humans.
Come here, come here. Come, and we are going to, it's a beautiful, hey, Saya, you come too. Come on.
And the speaker has to be
Maybe Emmy can take the picture.